So, welcome to the ninth day's NCF book reading session. And let us start with where we have stopped yesterday. And I request you all to please keep your videos turned on so that it will be more a sort of an interactive session. Yeah. Yes, Chitra ma'am, let us start with you. Process for
Yeah.
textbook development. Let us start from there.
Uh,
Hope the screen is visible.
the screen is visible. Now it's better. Yeah. So process for textbook development, applying the principles of textbook development, the process could be the following. First,
Which means
creation of,
here the process has been made considering all the principles which were said earlier in the above section. Yeah.
so creation of a syllabus document that draws from the curricular goals, competencies, and learning outcomes, and the nature, pedagogy, and assessment of a subject. The syllabus document could include the objectives of teaching the subject, approach to the content to be included, that is concept or theme, structure of the syllabus document as questions, key concepts, suggested strategies or activities, and choosing content that is cognitively and socio-culturally relevant. The syllabus document could also use literature from research studies, policy papers, teacher experiences, and subject matter expert opinions for deciding the extent and depth of the content.
So it is very clear. First and foremost step is to create a syllabus document wherein everything about the syllabus is mentioned and how that has to be developed. They should, draw the inputs from the curricular goals, competencies, learning outcomes as we have discussed yesterday. And the nature, pedagogy, and assessment of the subject, which is mentioned in the NCF, and we are going to explore them. We haven't gone till there yet. So, what this syllabus document should include? It should include the objectives of teaching that particular subject. For example, if at all we are developing a syllabus document for mathematics, so we are supposed to mention all the objectives of teaching mathematics. Okay, how are we supposed to approach to the content? As in, how are we supposed to teach the content? Okay, and structure of the syllabus as well as like questions, key concepts, strategies that are to be used by the teacher to teach, as well as activities that are to be conducted. A description of all these things are to be given so the teacher will understand it in a, the student as well as teacher, whoever is accessing to it, they will understand it in a better way. And choosing content that is cognitively and socio-culturally relevant. Cognitively means it should make thinking easy for the children, and that thinking should be of a proper free flow. And socio-culturally relevant matter has to be there in the document. It can also use literature from research studies, like many people they are doing lots of research. So we can take that research literature and we can use it in the syllabus. Apart from that, policy papers which are being developed by educational department. Okay, experiences of teachers can also be added to it. Apart from that, opinion of a subject matter expert can also be taken. Okay, and just a second. Sorry. So we can also consider the opinions of subject matter experts. These days, subject matter experts are there who work for publishers, isn't it? So opinion from such sort of people also can be taken as to develop a syllabus document. Next, Chitra
So,
ma'am.
before that, I want to ask one thing. But
Mm,
before this is done,
mm.
they will there might be a framework of what is the syllabus to be done in 6 and 7 or 8 or whatever, whichever class, isn't it?
That inputs are given in NCF, no, in the further chapters. What are we supposed to
Okay,
cover?
okay,
So
okay,
all the
fine.
people who work in the department, in making a textbook and all, they are supposed to read the NCF thoroughly first,
Okay,
including the
okay,
subject matter experts. Yes.
okay, fine. Okay. Panel of B is panel of textbook writers, reviewers, and designers or illustrators. The
Hmm.
people involved in textbook development could be Number one, textbook writers and reviewers. That is, teachers must be a part of this group. Others
Mm.
could include subject experts and university faculty and research scholars. Textbook authors should include people from diverse backgrounds to bring in diverse perspectives for content. Number two, designers and illustrators. People or organizations that have design experience and understanding of the local context, preferably local experts, should be involved from the start of the process. Three, technical experts. A lot of content that complements the textbook can be made available through digital media. It is thus important for technical experts to be part of the textbook development team from the start. Media content should not be an afterthought.
Yes, ma'am, you're done with the first one, right?
Three, one, two, three, B3.
Okay. So the first thing is the composition of textbook writers, isn't it? The people who are into textbook writing, preferably they are teachers who are supposed to write the textbooks. Okay, and they should be definitely they should be a part of writing a textbook, isn't it? Apart from that, we can have subject matter experts, faculty from universities, as well as research scholars. Okay, so the authors should include people from diverse backgrounds to bring in diverse perspectives for content. Diverse backgrounds in the sense we can, for example, if it is social, we can have people from different states, people from different communities. Okay, that way, if it is science, people from different streams of science also, so that there will be a diversity for the content that is being developed. Second thing is designers or illustrators. Okay, like they should have design experience and understand the local context, especially. They should understand what type of textbooks are loved by the people in the local area. Okay, and what type of designing has to be there so that people don't get offended. And preferably, local experts are to be taken. Many a times, what happens is the books that we are selecting, they are from, other parts of the country as well. So, first preference has to be given to localers so that they will have the idea what sort of design is liked by the people in their particular area, isn't it? And we can have people from outside as well, but preference is for people who are locals. Now, third one is technical experts. A lot of content that complements the textbook can be made available through digital media. Like these days, we are having QR codes and all, isn't it? So it is thus important for technical experts to be part of the textbook development team from the start. Media content should not be an afterthought, which means from the time of the development of the textbook itself, we should have people who are good at digital stuff so that they can have lots of digital content that is being developed along with the textbook on the other side. Continue, ma'am. Chitra, ma'am.
Yeah. The group should work together from the beginning to develop a shared vision of the textbook and create a common understanding of the process and be open to feedback, suggestions, and multiple iterations of the textbook.
Yes. So the people who are working, they might be the people who are textbook developers. So we spoke about three categories of people, no, here. First one
Yeah.
is textbook writers and reviewers, designers or illustrators, and technical experts. So the all the three groups, they have to work together from the beginning. And their vision is only one thing, developing a very good textbook based upon the policies of NCF. And they should be open for feedback, suggestion, and multiple inputs that are being given to them from different parts of the community or stakeholders, so that it is easy for them to achieve the vision of NCF. Next, ma'am.
Choice of content, pedagogy, and assessment. The topics, themes chosen would need to include the context of the student, including previous experiences and language, and scope for further exploration. The content for each grade should be a precursor to the next. It is essential to ensure an alignment of the pedagogy and assessment with the content and the learning outcomes.
So here, when we speak about the content, pedagogy, and assessment, one thing that we have to keep in our mind is that we have to consider the previous knowledge of the child. For example, if at all we are developing a textbook for fourth grade child, okay, we have to keep in mind what the child have read in the third grade. At least the minimum levels of learning are to be covered, kept in mind. okay, while we are developing a textbook, so that it will be, easy for the child to step ahead with whatever is being given in textbook. And we have to consider the pedagogy and assessment, like different types of pedagogy has been mentioned already. Till grade 5, we go with the playway method and uh, discovery method, activity-based learning and all, isn't it? So all these things are to be considered while developing a textbook.
Structure of the textbook. Considering that the textbook is one important source of connection between the teacher and the student, the textbook should be useful for both notes for teachers. Sorry, I think I missed for both. Content in textbooks is largely directed towards students. It has been a practice to include notes for teachers in the textbook. This approach is limiting. Therefore, this NCF recommends that each textbook released for students should be accompanied by a teacher's version of the same textbook.
Yes,
Please see
about this,
number.
we are going to have more information further. Only thing that is said is when a textbook is being developed, a teacher's version also has to be developed, which is called as Teacher Plus. Okay, we will get into it after some time. Okay, so that what happens is it's not like a manual, rather than a manual. Everything which is there in student's book will be there in teacher's book. Along with that, some extra information is also presented. What is that extra information? We will be exploring further. Presentation and design.
And design. Presentation and design. The presentation of a textbook relies on the font size, images, sketches, the colors used, and their amalgamation. Example, textual content in the early grades may be limited with a large number of images. Font size should be large, and the illustrations used should be sensitive and inclusive. The language used should be grade appropriate and relevant to the subject.
So how a textbook has to be presented, which means the content of the textbook, how it has to be presented. It should be appropriate, age appropriate, stage appropriate. Even the font, the size of the font, images that are used, the color scheme that is being used, everything should be of age appropriate. For an example, they have given an example of foundation stage here. Like there should be good use of images, okay, which are sensitive and inclusive. At the same time, the language that is being used has to be, like simple, so that children of that age, like they can, get over with that easily. Next.
Writing, review, and pilot run. The writing of a textbook needs sufficient time, regular peer reviews, and panel reviews. It requires regular interactions with the illustrators to define and reiterate the requirement of the content being worked on. This adds to the rigor of the textbook creation and assists in avoiding repetitions in the text, images, and ideas across subjects as the illustrators work with all the writers. The reviews provided should be constructive and encouraging. The feedback should include suggestions and alternative ideas. The writer should be open to multiple iterations and be cognizant of the principles of writing content. The review process must be done chapter-wise and then for the textbooks as a whole. Meticulous proofreading of the textbook is essential and contributes to its quality. Selected schools must be identified, pilot runs of the school books, of the textbooks. During such a pilot run, the writers must visit schools and schedule classroom observations,
With
conversations with
teachers.
teachers, students, and parents, and receive feedback about the textbook.
Great. So here they are mentioning how the proofreading has to be done, how the writing, reviewing, and pilot run has to be done. So the first and foremost thing that is said over here is, like enough amount of time has to be given for writing a textbook. Once that is done, a peer review has to be done. Peer review in the sense there are three groups of people involved in developing a textbook, isn't it? All these three group people from all these three groups, they are supposed to sit and review for each other. Okay. And finally, panel review. The people who are in the panel of textbook development, that, review has to be done. Chapter-wise review has to be done. And finally, the complete textbooks review also has to be done. And how is the feedback has to be given? Feedback has to be given keeping in mind vision of NEP, the aims of education. Okay. Only if there is any sort of, breach in that, then they are supposed to rethink about the matter. But otherwise, constant motivation also has to be provided for the people who are developing a textbook. And best schools can be identified to do a pilot run of the textbook, wherein the textbook will be sent to that school. They will be, reading the textbook once. They'll be trying to teach the lessons to their peers, for the teachers over there. This way, a pilot run of the textbook can also be done. Along with that, like they can take inputs during the pilot run. They can take the inputs from teachers, students, and parents as well. Okay, a good feedback of the textbook also has to be taken. So this is the process. Next, ma'am.
Teacher orientation to the textbook. There must be a provision for teacher orientation on the genesis of the textbook, its rationale, and the approach to pedagogy and assessment to ensure its appropriate use in the classroom. This orientation must be followed up through school visits, webinars, sharing of best practices, and regular interactions with the teachers to understand the challenges being faced in the use of the textbook.
Great. So this is about the orientation. What is an orientation? Before a textbook is being used in the classroom by a teacher, a complete orientation, which means A to Z of a textbook has to be told to the teachers. How are they supposed to use? What is the material available within the textbook, and what is the material that is available as a hands-on material other than this textbook for you? How are you supposed to use? What are the best practices using this particular textbook? Okay, all these things are to be told, briefed to the teachers as a part of orientation before they start using the, like textbook in the classroom. Apart from that, once they start using the textbook, regular visits of the people who have developed textbook to the school is also suggested. And they have to sit with the teachers, and they have to take the inputs of the teachers. They have to find out what's the problem that they are facing, what's the feedback of the parents and children once the textbook has been started using in the class. Next one, ma'am.
Multiple textbooks. Many agencies and teams must be encouraged to develop textbooks based on the same syllabus.
Yeah. So many agencies and teams must be encouraged to develop textbooks based on same syllabus. Like already we have different publishers, different agencies. Okay, they all can develop textbooks and we can choose the best textbook. Moving on to teacher's handbook. Namita ma'am, can you read out this part?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes.
Teacher's handbook. It has been a practice to include notes to teachers in the textbook. This approach is limiting. If notes are kept to their briefest minimum, it is not really useful for the teacher. If they are elaborate and detailed, it unnecessarily increases the size of the textbook for the students, and it perhaps would also be intimidating. It is recommended that each textbook being published be accompanied by a teacher's version of the same textbook. The textbook should be organized in the same sequence of chapters as the student's textbook, but can include additional materials. Intended learning objectives of the chapter and how it is connected to the learning standards of the curriculum. Recommended pedagogical strategies relevant for that chapter. Alternative activities for students who are struggling to grasp the content, references through QR codes for resources such as digital materials, additional worksheets, formative assessments, and pedagogical content knowledge packages that provide additional teaching aids and also develops a more profound understanding in the teacher of the topic under consideration. Thus, the text book would be a valuable compendium for the teacher to go well beyond the textbook's content without burdening or intimidating the students.
Yes. Great, ma'am. Thank you so much. So what is being told here is it's about the teacher's handbook, or it can also be called as the teacher book plus. Okay. So most of the times what happens is they give only the notes for teachers in the teacher's handbook. For example, answers for what the questions that are being given in textbook, all such sort of stuff. So what is happening here? The teacher's learning and teacher's knowledge is being limited. Okay, there is no chance for the teacher to explore. and come up with teachers' own creative solutions and answers. So apart from that, what the NCF is suggesting here is to have an organized and a sequence-based chapters. Okay, like everything that is present in students' book, the same thing has to be there in teachers' handbook as well. Apart from the same content, a few things which are being mentioned that are to be present in the teacher's handbook are intended learning objectives of the chapter and how it is connected to the learning standard of the curriculum. This information has to be given. Recommended pedagogical strategies relevant for that chapter. Not one pedagogical strategy, but different pedagogical strategies. These days, even publishers have come up with lesson plans. Sir, you don't have to write lesson plans. We are giving lesson plans also. But that way, what is happening? They are, not allowing the teacher to think out of the box or creatively. Okay, so they can give choices of different types of pedagogical strategies, and teacher can choose the best and make her own lesson plan. Apart from that, alternative activities for students who are struggling to grasp the content. Hardly we find such sort of features in any teacher's handbook these days. So, teacher's handbook should also provide relevant content for supporting the children who are struggling academically. Apart from that, QR codes can be given for teachers to have access to research work. Okay, some digital material, additional worksheets can be given, question papers for formative assessments with more choices of questions, and pedagogical content can be given. Okay, additional teaching aids can be mentioned over there. Okay, so teacher's handbook should be something that is useful for profound understanding of content for the teacher rather than just some answers for the questions that have been asked in the textbook. So this way, teacher's textbook plus should be something beyond the textbook content. And, it shouldn't be intimidating, which means forcing students to learn something. So such sort of things shouldn't be there. There should be a chance for the teacher to go beyond, think out of the box and make learning easy for the child. Moving on. Aarti ma'am, can you read out learning environment and teaching learning materials? Aarti ma'am is not here. Okay. Suchitra ma'am, can you?
Yes, sir, I'm reading it out.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. Learning environment and teaching learning materials. A safe, inclusive, and stimulating environment that supports every student's participation is critical for achieving the learning standards outlined in the NCF. Classrooms and schools overall that are clean, well ventilated, well lit, and organized with appropriate access and safety provisions are important to facilitate learning. Safety provisions include physical, social, and emotional safety. Schools must be equipped with adequate resources and materials. Classrooms should allow for individual work and cooperative work. Classroom displays should be available for student work. Students with developmental delays or disabilities may need specific accommodations for physical space and TLMs to enable physical and curricular access. For the foundational and preparatory stages, classrooms may be organized into learning corners for specific domains of learning. The availability of a range of safe and stimulating material that encourages learning in different domains of development, literacy, and numeracy would be necessary for all students. Well-resourced libraries and laboratories would be necessary for the middle and secondary stages. Art education, physical education, and well-being, and vocational education would require specific kinds of spaces and materials available and organized in particular ways. The local context and the resources of the community may also be significantly helpful when used and integrated thoughtfully. It is important that the full potential of the environment and various kinds of TLMs are utilized, all of which is intimately tied to approach adopted in pedagogy, elaborated upon in the next section. Not only would this enable aspects of learning that are difficult to foster only through books, but it also makes the process more engaging. Thus, the curriculum content selected, including pedagogical aspects, must be carefully distributed and balanced between books, other TLMs, and use of the surrounding environment.
Great, ma'am. Thank you. So First and foremost thing is that they're speaking about the environment over here. So what type of environment? Safe environment. What type of safety? It should be emotionally safe. At the same time, what do we say? Physically safe and
So
socially safe. Such sort of safety environment should be. Was someone trying to speak? Suchitra ma'am, were you asking something?
no, sir. I was just telling you that social and physical, you were saying
Yeah, great.
safety.
Yes. So such sort of safety has to be provided. Inclusive. Inclusive means having all diverse group of children. Stimulating, which means motivating, encouraging. Okay, which gives lots of chances for thinking in out of the box. Such sort of place, such sort of environment has to be created for the students. And what type of classrooms are needed? Clean classrooms, well ventilated classrooms, well lit, which means there is proper light in the classroom. Okay, there should be access for all sort of safety provisions. Okay, which are needed for learning. At the same time, there should be lots of adequate resources and material in the school. Resources, all types of resources, learning resources, safety resources, basic amenities. Okay, also, classroom should be organized in such a way that it is good for individual work, at the same time, group work or cooperative work. Apart from that, in certain schools, wherever there are children whose development is not on par with the other students, for such sort of children who are having some disabilities and all, thinking about it, okay, considering those conditions, we are supposed to make the arrangements in the classroom. Classroom should have proper TLMs and displays should be organized for the students. There should be specific corners for subjects. And in the case of foundation stage, we have seen developmental domains. So based upon developmental domains also, we have to arrange specific corners in the classroom so that students can go around, they can move around and they can learn. Literacy and numeracy has to be given utmost importance while we are arranging the classroom. All the what do we say, things which are displayed on the board or displayed on the walls, they should be stimulating literacy, foundational literacy and foundational numeracy. Well resourced libraries with diverse number of books and well resourced laboratories are to be present, especially for middle stage and secondary stage, because yesterday we have seen that most of the classes can be taken in laboratories only. Art education, physical education and well-being, vocational education, okay, will be requiring special spaces. Art room, we should have an art room. We should have a physical education room and all the material that is needed to teach the students. Apart from that, there should be lots of local context about the community which is around the school and all within the school, so that children will get to know the local environment as well. Apart from that, good number of TLMs are to be used, appropriate TLMs are to be used, okay, which are appropriate for that particular pedagogy which teachers are using. Okay, all these things are to be arranged to make the environment learning friendly for the students. Now, there should be a proper balance between TLMs and the surrounding environment. It is not that we are constantly using only digital things, but all sorts of teaching, learning material has to be made available for the school. Next, section 3.3, it is pedagogy. Now, may I request Vartika ma'am, Vartika Vaishnav. Ma'am, can you start reading this?
Sure, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Section 3.3 Pedagogies. A good educational institution is one in which every student feels welcome and cared for, where a safe and stimulated learning environment exists, where a wide range of learning experiences are offered, and where good physical infrastructures and appropriate resources conducive to learning are available to all the students.
Okay.
Pedagogies
So
in the
a good
world.
educational institution is where it is providing a welcome sort of feeling for the students. They should feel that they are being given proper care. There is lots of safety and the environment is stimulating, learning stimulating. Okay. There should be wide range of learning experiences for the students, as well as good physical infrastructure and appropriate resources are to be made available for all the students. So these are as per the principles that were given in NEP 2020. Continue, ma'am.
Pedagogy is the method and practices of teaching used in the classroom by the teachers to help the students learn. Effective pedagogy is based on the good understanding of how the children grow and learn and a clear focus of curricular goals, competencies, and learning outcomes to be achieved for students.
Yes.
How to
So pedagogy is nothing but the method or practice that is used by the teacher to teach the children in the classroom. So on what the pedagogy is based? It is based upon good understanding of how children grow. First, the teacher should know how the children grow, okay, and how they learn while they are growing. Apart from that, teacher should have a proper understanding of curricular goals, competencies, and learning outcomes that are to be achieved by the student, okay, in that particular stage and that particular grade. How do children grow and learn? Vartika ma'am, you can continue.
healthy physical development requires basic needs of adequate nutrition and appropriate sensory and emotional stimulation. There are critical periods in sensory development. Example, normal visual experience is critical within the first few months of life. There are sensitive periods in cognitive and emotional development as well. Example, early childhood and adolescence. Psychological changes are
Physiology.
ram- physiological changes have ramifications on the physiological
Psychology.
and social
Hmm.
psychological and social aspects of a child's life.
Great.
From an evolutionary
We will complete this, ma'am, and then we'll move further. Okay.
Okay.
So, first and foremost thing that is necessary for a child's physical development, which is healthy, is adequate nutrition and appropriate sensory and emotional stimulation. Sensory stimulation is needed, okay, as well as emotional stimulation, wherein we are allowing the child to think and react. Okay, so there are certain very critical periods in sensory development, like normal visual experience is critical. How is the child able to see? Okay, especially in the first few months of the life of the child. There are sensitive periods in cognitive and emotional development as well, like early childhood and adolescence. Childhood is very important. At the same time, adolescence is also very sensitive part of child's life. So physiological changes, the changes which are happening in the body, they affect the psychology of the child as well as the social aspect also of the child's life. You can continue, ma'am. Vartika ma'am.
From an evolutionary point of view, human beings are born to learn, so we come with a drive to understand the world and explain the things around us. We constantly make our own theories and refine them based on our perceptions and experience.
Okay.
Children are
Like from an evolutionary point of view, which means if we take a look at the history of human evolution, okay, it is understood that human beings are born to learn something. Okay, so this drive is there within the mind of the human beings. We always want to learn something, want to explore something. That's the reason we make our own theories and we refine our theories based upon our perceptions and experiences which we undergo in our life. You can continue, ma'am.
Children are therefore natural learners. They are active, eager to learn, and respond with interest to new things. They have an innate sense of curiosity. They wonder, question, explore, try out, and discover to make sense of the world. By acting on the curiosity, they continue to discover and learn more.
So considering the paragraph just we have read, what it is being concluded here is that children are natural learners. Okay. Apart from that, they have the qualities of being very active. They are always eager to learn. Okay. When they see something new, they respond to it very quickly. Okay. They also have a curiosity within them. Okay, like they wonder, they question, they explore, they try out new things. Okay, and they try to make a sense of world which is around them. Okay, by acting on their curiosity, they continue to discover and learn more. Because of this curiosity only, they're always trying to discover new things and they're trying to learn more things. Yes, ma'am.
Research from across the world has provided us with a set of ideas about how children learn that have practical implications for teaching. Some of these key aspects are
Yeah, so we are
brain,
going to
the
discuss
brain.
few key aspects, okay, which are being given to us by researchers who have carried out a great research work about how children learn. Okay, thank you, Vartika ma'am. Now let us give the opportunity of reading to AR. Who is AR? Who is the person with the name AR? Ma'am AR. Okay, let the cycle go on. Chitra ma'am, please start reading. The brain plays an important role.
Yes, sir, just a minute. Yeah.
Once the meeting is
brain-
over, I request everyone to join with the same link again. We have only 1 more minute. Yes.
The brain plays an important role in learning. The brain is a complex organ made up of neurons, glial cells, blood vessels, and many cells organized into specialized areas. The working of the brain is the ever-changing patterns of connections between millions of neurons. Learning is a physical process in which new knowledge is represented by new brain cell connections. The brain both shapes and is shaped by experience, including opportunities the child has for cognitive development and social interaction. The brain is designed to learn and remember new things through life as long as it continues to be challenged and stimulated.
Yes. So here they are trying to tell us that brain plays a very important role in learning. First of all, they are speaking about the composition of brain, okay, which is an organ that is made up of neurons, glial cells, blood vessels, and other cells which are organized into specialized areas. Each part of brain has got a different role to play. Okay, so the working of brain is the ever-changing pattern of connections between millions of neurons. The working pattern of like brain changes as per the neurons that are that it is connected to different neurons. They are nerve cells. Learning is a physical process in which new knowledge is represented by new brain cell connections. Whenever there is a new brain